in his New York hush money criminal case, reopening a legal path that could potentially overturn his conviction. A federal appeals court in Manhattan has ruled that the district judge must re-examine whether last year's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity should have led the exclusion of certain evidence at Trump's trial. Meanwhile, Trump has long argued that presidents are immune from prosecution for acts carried out as part of their official duties. The decision by the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals effectively gives the president another chance to argue that his state-level case should have been moved to federal court, a move that could alter the outcome of one of Trump's legal battles. Nancy Pelosi, the first and only woman to serve as Speaker of the U.S. House, has announced that she will not seek re-election in 2026, ending a four-decade career. The 85-year-old Democrat icon, first elected in 1987, made the announcement after California voters approved Proposition 50, a redistricting effort aimed at flipping 5 House seats to Democrats in 2024. Pelosi, a key figure in battling for control of the House and taking on President Trump, faced growing pressure from younger Democrats for leadership transition. Her retirement follows debates about the need for new leadership, particularly after President Biden's struggles in 2024. Here's a video of Nancy Pelosi announcing her retirement.
I've cherished the privilege of representing our magnificent city in the United States Congress. We can be proud of what we have accomplished, but there's always much more work to be done. That is why I want you, my fellow San Franciscans, to be the first to know. I will not be seeking re-election to Congress. Thank you, San Francisco, for trusting me to be your voice in Congress. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
China has recently called for the removal of trade barriers to promote the free flow of green technologies. This comes during a pre-COP 30 leaders summit in Brazil, where Vice Premier Ding Shuiqiang has emphasized the need for global sustainable development. Chinese Vice Premier Ding has further stressed that the world must remove these barriers to better tackle climate change and promote sustainability. He has also called for multilateralism and international collaboration to advance green technology and industry. This would help countries work together in meeting global environmental goals. It is important to note that China is global leader in solar panels, batteries, and electric vehicles, but currently faces high tariffs from the United States. In Ukraine, Russian soldier has been sentenced to life in prison, which becomes the first such verdict since Russia-Ukraine war began. Ukraine's SBU security service stated that the soldier was convicted of executing a Ukrainian prisoner of war who had surrendered during a battle in January 2024. Authorities described it as a landmark ruling, calling it the first time an occupying soldier has received a life sentence, specifically for the execution of a member of Ukraine's defense forces. The case underscores Kyiv's ongoing effort to hold Russian troops accountable for wartime atrocities, even as fighting continues along the eastern and southern fronts. Ukraine has implemented sanctions following a decision by the National Security and Defense Council to synchronize with the EU's 19th sanctions package. The sanctions target Russian entities involved in Arctic mining, including Sinara Group Corporation for the development of the Far East and 36 other firms. Additionally, 18 individuals linked to Russian coal mining and possessing companies have been sanctioned. President Zelensky has frequently signed decrees imposing sanctions on Russian individuals and entities along with foreign citizens accused of cooperation with Russia. These measures reflect Ukraine's ongoing push to align sanctions with Western sanctions against Moscow. Jolie in Ukraine. A driver from Angelina Jolie's motorcade remains detained at a Ukrainian territorial recruitment center. The driver, who is a Ukrainian citizen, was stopped at a checkpoint near Yuzhukyansk in the Mykolaiv region. He was found to lack military registration papers and was taken to the recruitment center. Authorities have also allegedly discovered that he was a reserve officer, which makes him ineligible for a deferment. Meanwhile, the driver's friend claimed that he had all necessary documents, including military medical commissions. In conclusion, the detained man, who suffers from a spinal condition, is now reportedly moved out of a basement after his detention. Following his detention, Jolie's team has contacted the Ukrainian president's office to secure his release. After ensuring a formal check of his status, the actress' motorcade has continued on its journey. Now we move on to Middle East. Hamas fighters holed up in the Israeli-held Rafah area of Gaza would surrender their arms in exchange for passage to other areas of the enclave under a proposal to resolve an issue seen as a risk to the months-old truce. The Rafah area has been at the scene of at least 2 attacks on Israeli forces, which Israel has blamed on Hamas, for which the group has denied responsibility. Their arms to Egypt and give details of the tunnels there so that they can be destroyed. Although Israel and Hamas are yet to accept mediators' proposals. On Thursday, members of the Lebanese army inspected damage in Abbasihem, southern Lebanon, after Israeli airstrikes killed 1 person and injured 3 people. The Israeli military targeted Hezbollah operatives in the entire area, claiming to strike terrorist infrastructure. Later, Israel has issued evacuation orders for 3 locations, citing Hezbollah's attempts to rebuild military capabilities. Despite a ceasefire agreement, Israel carried out heavy airstrikes, insisting on enforcing the truce and preventing Hezbollah from rearming. Hezbollah, while committed to the ceasefire, maintains its legitimate right to resist Israel. Let's in fact listen into some of the reactions.
هاي المصلحة يا معلمة فاتحة 5-6 بيوت من أولها لآخرها. 5-6 بيوت، وجاري فوق مصلحته فاتحة 4-5 بيوت. حداد يا خيي، حداد، شو بيشتغل الحداد دخلك؟ كرسي، طاولة، باب، شباك، درابزين، شو بيشتغل؟ هذا شغلة الحداد. طرقونا كلياتنا، الحمد لله يا خيي، الحمد لله. راحت بيوتنا، ما عندنا مشكلة. إنه يا خيي بيئة المصلحة، بتضل تعوض شيء عن شيء. هلا راحت المصلحة، الحمد لله صرنا على الصفر، صرنا تحت.
وهون احنا شو بنصنع؟ ابواب وشبابيك وطاقات شمسيه وديكورات للنجارين، بتعرفي دخل يعني الديكورات بالحديد، وهذا صناعتنا نحن هيك. وانا بيتي انضرب بهيدي الحرب ومهجره بعد ما رجعت على بيتي.
The Israeli spokesperson has recently addressed the Hezbollah to rearm or rebuild its strength. She has further re-emphasized that the Hezbollah group's continued terrorist activities constitute violation of the ceasefire understanding. Let's listen in.
We will not allow Hezbollah to rearm themselves, to recover, build back up its strength to threaten the state of Israel. And the continuous terrorist activities by Hezbollah constitute a violation of the understanding between the ceasefire. So, like I said, Israel will continue to remove any threat that is posed to our soldiers, to our citizens here, and we will do exactly what we need to do. We will not allow Hezbollah.
These comments come after former hostage Ram described his horrific experience at the hands of Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza. Braslavsky had earlier explained that he was sexually assaulted, tortured, and starved. Just earlier in the day, the Israeli military has launched strikes on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. These strikes were reportedly in response to Hezbollah's attempts to rebuild operations in the region. The residents are asked to move at least 500 meters away from the targeted buildings. More than 700 police are deployed across the British city of Birmingham as protesters were planned for Europa League match between Maccabi Tel Aviv and Aston Villa, with visiting Israeli fans barred. The UK government last month has vowed to revise the ban on Maccabi fans attending the Europa League match in the city in central England that has a significant Muslim population after widespread criticism against the decision by local safety advisors and police. However, the Israeli club later announced that it would decline any tickets for its fans, citing safety concerns. Meanwhile, Aston Villa has urged supporters not to display political symbols during a match, a practice banned under protocols issued by the UEFA, which is the governing body of European Football League. Germany supports EU proposals to increase tariffs on foreign steel, particularly from China, as the bloc struggles with cheap imports. Chancellor Friedrich Merz has confirmed this commitment, highlighting the EU Commission's initial proposal to reduce import quotas, customs duties on excess quantities, adding Gunnar Grobler, president of German Steel, has emphasized that the need for strong steel industry in Germany, stressing that reliable framework conditions are essential for the industry's short-term survival. This is what the Friedrich Merz has said.
Geben. Wir haben das so vereinbart, dass wir uns dafür auch in Brüssel einsetzen. Die Kommission hat dazu erste Vorschläge gemacht. Diese Vorschläge gehen in die richtige Richtung. Ich werde diese Vorschläge nach Kräften unterstützen und hoffe, dass es entsprechende Regelungen auch gibt für die Reduzierung der Einfuhrquoten und für die Anhebung der Zölle auf die Mengen, die über diese Quoten hinausgehen. Wir werden einen Schutz. Wir stehen vor großen Herausforderungen, was die Veränderung der gesamten Handelspolitik auf der Welt betrifft. Das sind zum einen die Zölle, die in Amerika erhoben werden, und das sind zum anderen die umgeleiteten Warenströme, insbesondere aus dem asiatischen Raum, hier wiederum insbesondere aus China, die mit subventioniertem Stahl die.
Now we move on to Africa. Ethiopia's Afar region has reported a military attack from forces in the neighboring Tigray region. The Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF, has seized 6 villages and bombed civilians, according to Afar authorities. This comes after a devastating civil war between Tigray rebels and the Ethiopian government that lasted from 2020 to 2022, killing an estimated 600,000 people. Even after the conflict ended, tensions between Tigray and other regions remain high. According to the Afar Regional Administration, TPLF forces bombarded civilians with mortars and artillery in the Migale district. While the TPLF has not commented on the attacks, a humanitarian source has confirmed the fighting. Authorities afar have warned of possible defensive action if attacks continue. They also report that many of people were displaced but have not heard any of casualties so far. Heavy rainfall has caused floodings across parts of Spain's northeastern Catalonia region. This has prompted authorities to issue warnings and emergency responses. The Catalan Weather Agency has issued an orange alert in the region, with Girona recording the highest rainfall with 43.6 liters per square meters. Reports suggest that since the onset of the weather episode, the fire brigade responded to 60 emergency calls throughout Catalonia, while authorities have lifted the flood alert at midday but have advised residents to remain cautious when outdoors. People gather in Lyon, the largest city in Western Sahara, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Green March, which marks Morocco's takeover of parts of this disputed territory. Half a century has passed since the Green March, launched by King Hassan II of Morocco to reclaim the North African country's historical rights over Western Sahara. This gathering comes a few days after a UN vote supporting Morocco's autonomy plan. Here's what the people celebrating have said.
قرار بالنسبة لنا نحن في مدينة العيون وساكنة مدينة العيون قرار يعني نثمنه وهذا إنصاف لنا نحن المغاربة في الصحراء المغربية بهذا الحكم الذي أصدره مجلس الأمن الدولي وطبعا ستتواصل التنمية.
احتفل مع إخوان ديالنا الصحراويين احتفلت سنة الذكرى 49 والذكرى 50 احتفلت بهم مع إخواننا الصحراويين زيت ندير معاهم صلة الرحم هنايا
Nous sommes venus de Casa et de toutes les parties du Maroc, moi et mes amis, et beaucoup de mes chers compatriotes, pour participer à l'anniversaire du 50e anniversaire de la glorieuse marche verte. Cette marche qui a démontré que les Marocains sont capables de tous les défis.
Now we move on to Europe. French government officials have said that the European Union must take action against Shein, saying the Chinese online retailer was in breach of the bloc's regulations due to the sale of childlike sex dolls and banned weapons on its marketplace. France has moved to ban Shein over the illicit products on Wednesday, prompting the company to suspend its marketplace in the country as it reviewed how third-party sellers operate on it. Shein's website in France was still viewable today, but it showed only its own brand clothing, or which it is best known, rather than the vast array of toys, homeware, and gadgets normally available on its marketplace, which has been a growing source of revenue for the company. As part of the crackdown on Shein, France's budget and small business ministers visited Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, where millions of packages arrive via air freight. They said that they'd be blocked They have blocked 200,000 parcels, which would be examined by customs officials and France's consumer watchdog. Let's listen into what the French Minister for Public Accounts has said.
Mais aujourd'hui, c'est 100% de tous les colis arrivés depuis 24 heures qui sont bloqués. C'est 200 000 colis qui vont être ouverts par les douaniers, la DGCCRF, pour justement alimenter les 3 procédures qui ont été initiées par le Premier ministre. La première procédure, vous le savez, c'est la suspension du site. La deuxième procédure, c'est une enquête judiciaire. Et la troisième procédure, c'est une enquête européenne. Pour que nous puissions réussir à mettre un frein à ce qui est un système qui est manifestement non conforme par rapport à toutes nos normes, toutes nos règles et toute notre fiscalité, je vais y revenir, il faut qu'on puisse avoir des preuves. Les douaniers en ont tous les jours, mais aujourd'hui, la plateforme ne pourra pas dire qu'on a juste ouvert les...
The European Commission has stated that it takes very seriously the risks from illegal products on Shein, as the online retail giant faces an uproar in France over the sale of childlike sex dolls. Paris has urged Brussels to clamp down on the Chinese-founded platform, with the bloc's digital chief, Henna Verkunen, to hold talks later in the day with French Minister Anne Hennaf. The European Commission is already investigating Shein for multiple suspected breaches of EU rules, including those related to the sale of illegal products. Such step would be a very last resort to be taken by the member state hosting the platform. Let's listen in to what the EU spokesperson has said.
The concerns raised in France, these are concerns we already have. We have sent requests for information to Shein precisely on the selling and the dissemination of illegal products on its service, so the Commission takes this extremely seriously.
The death toll from Typhoon Kalmaegi in the Philippines has risen to 114 people, with 127 people still missing. The storm has regained strength as it moves towards Vietnam, where 350,000 people have been evacuated due to expected flooding and damaging winds. While in Philippines, with many returning to destroyed homes and have started cleanup, a senior civil defense official has stated that the challenge is now to clear the debris from the regions hit by the typhoon. Meanwhile, a new storm developing in east of Mindanao could strengthen into a typhoon, raising concerns for the upcoming week. Kalmaegi is the 20th storm to hit the Philippines this year and comes just after deadly earthquake in Cebu. This is what some of the Vietnamese farmers have said.
Đông nước lên biển hơn, nước vừa ra khỏi ra là bà con vừa chuyển đồ xuống là được 3 ngày. Là trời nó mưa lớn ảnh hưởng bão vào rồi. Mưa quá lớn, mưa mấy bữa đấy quá lớn, thì nước nó vào lại. Bà con nó cũng rất phấn.
Là lên là lần thứ 3 rồi này. Bây giờ chưa cơn bão số 13 đi mà vô nữa là sẽ là đón cơn lũ thứ 4 nữa, mà chưa biết là lũ là lên tới đâu nữa. Thành thử bà con mình là mong nước đủ chứ ai trong nước ra mà để đi làm.